Thank you, Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. At this 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, I'd like to speak about Africa's role in the future of this organization. However, it's impossible to do that without first considering the collective role that Africa played in its founding, which was small and relatively insignificant. Of the 51 member states involved in the founding of the United Nations in 1945, only 4 were African: Egypt, Ethiopia, Liberia, and South Africa. It is important to point out that the United Nations came into being in the aftermath of World War II because of the inability of its predecessor, the League of Nations, to avert a large-scale global conflict, which had been its guiding purpose when it was founded in 1920 at the end of the First World War. Out of the 42 founding member states of the League of Nations, only 3 were African: Liberia, the Union of South Africa, and Ethiopia. Egypt was to join later in 1937. Africa's overall participation in the organization's founding was minimal and relatively unimportant. That's because before all the other talks and meetings, representatives from a group of 14 nations gathered in Berlin for a series of discussions that began in 1884 and which led to the partitioning and formal colonization of the African continent, which is also called the Scramble for Africa. It has famously been written that past is prologue. Well, in the past, the majority of the 54 nations that now comprise Africa were never offered a seat at the table where plans for a new world order were being drawn. But, Madam President, as fate would have it, the tables are turning, and Africa's role in the authorship of whatever is yet to come for this world is going to be huge, and it will be consequential. According to this organization's own projections, by the year 2050, more than 25% of the world's population is expected to come from the African continent. Additionally, by 2050, 1/3 of all young people aged between 15 to 24 will be residing on the African continent. So you see, the future of this world is African. Allow me to say this once again a little louder for those of you in the back. The future is African. Already today, Africa is a catalyst for human potential and development, as well as for economic reform and ecological stability. Africa is a catalyst for systemic change. If this reality, which is fact-based and straightforward, seems provocative or unsettling, perhaps it's because you are viewing it through the lens of centuries of filters, colonialism and imperialism, and the resulting implicit bias. Maybe you are unaware of the resilience of African nations or their remarkable ability to make a strong comeback just when you think it's safe to count them out. That is what is happening right now in my own country, Ghana. Our constitution limits leaders to 2 4-year terms. In January, I was sworn in for a second term, which, let me point out, was non-consecutive with my first term. Our currency, the Ghana cedi, was rapidly depreciating. Faced with rising inflation, a huge debt burden, and low morale amongst our citizens, my new administration settled down quickly and embarked on an ambitious program of comprehensive transformation designed to restructure Ghana's economic foundation and enhance our competitive standing globally. We refer to this process of recalibration as our reset agenda. In just 8 months, we have achieved significant reduction in inflation from 23.8% in December 2024 to 11.5% in August 2025, restoring price stability for our citizens. Additionally, our currency, the Ghana cedi, has appreciated considerably against other currencies, with Bloomberg reporting it as the best performing currency in the world at one point. Our improved sovereign credit rating reflects increasing investor confidence in our economy, and our 24-hour economy initiative promises to transform our economy. And there's a renewed willingness amongst our people to trust that their elected officials have Ghana's interests at heart and that we are progressing together. Madam President, I believe that in honor of this milestone celebration, the United Nations should also embark on a process of serious recalibration and establish its own reset agenda. Since the organization's founding, the number of UN member nations has nearly quadrupled. And quite frankly, it is not the same world that it was back then when the UN was formed. I mentioned earlier that I began my second non-consecutive term as president this past January. My first term ended in January 2017. In that span of time, 8 years, the world has changed with such ferocity. My first days in office after my return felt as though I had just awakened from a Rip Van Winkle-style sleep. Now, no, that was only after 8 years. Imagine then what it will be like after 80 years since the founding of the United Nations. In 1945, the sun had not yet set on the largest empire in history. The most common mode of international travel was by sea. The personal computer had not been invented, let alone made portable. And television, a new convenience, was still in its infancy, albeit in black and white color. Relations between the US and the Soviet Union were turning frosty, with Winston Churchill declaring that an iron curtain has descended across the European continent. Fast track 80 years on, in today's world, hundreds of thousands of commercial flights take off and land every day. Libraries have been digitized so that volumes of literature can exist on a small device, small enough to fit inside your pocket. We live in a world of cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, social media, the internet and its dark hidden dungeon of the dark web, all of which carry a potential threat to global peace and security. Climate change is real, and we're fighting a losing battle against the loss of Maldives and other island nations to the rising sea level, against the loss of Timbuktu to desertification and the Amazon forest to global warming and deforestation. Madam President, the UN Founding Charter is outdated when it comes to representation in this August Assembly. The most powerful post-World War II nations are still being rewarded with an almost totalitarian guardianship over the rest of the world. And yet, the first sentence in Chapter 2, Article 1 of the UN Charter declares that the organization is based on the principle of sovereign equality of all its members. If this were true, and was the case, a continent as large as Africa, with its numerous UN member states, would have at least one permanent seat on the Security Council. Furthermore, we believe that veto power should not be restricted to only 5 nations, nor should it be absolute. There must be a mechanism in this House for the General Assembly to challenge a veto. No single nation should be able to exercise an absolute veto to serve its own interests in a dispute. In 1995, during the 50th anniversary of the United Nations, Nelson Mandela stood in this very spot, and he said, "The United Nations has to reassess its role, redefine its profile, and reshape its structures. It should truly reflect the diversity of our universe and ensure equity among the nations in the exercise of power within the system of international relations in general and the Security Council in particular." I close quotations. 30 years later, we African leaders are still making the same simple request for a permanent seat on the Security Council with the power of a veto. So today, Madam President, I stand here in this exact spot and ask the world, if not now, then when? We demand not only a reform of the Security Council, but also a reset of the global financial architecture, which is currently rigged against Africa. Africa must have a greater say in the world's multilateral financial institutions. And while I'm making requests, I'd like to call for the removal of the blockade on Cuba. As Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our nation's founder, famously said, "We seek to be friends with all and enemies to none." The Cuban people shed their blood on African soil in the fight against apartheid. And indeed, Cuba has been and continues to be a faithful friend of Africa. You see, the very fact that I can stand here and ask these things and say these things, and the fact that all nations can ostensibly gather here to address critical global issues, air our grievances, and express our concerns, that is what makes the survival of this organization so important. In every old city or village, you will find a town square, or a courtyard, or a plaza that once served as a gathering space for the citizens of the community and their leaders. Meetings and celebrations were held there, as were trials and elections. And these were spaces that brought people together and held them together as a community. Sadly, time and technology have eroded these spaces. Madam President, in many ways, the United Nations is the proverbial town square of our modern global village. And it has never been more critical for us to protect this one space that brings and holds the world nations together as a community. The internet, social media platforms, and artificial intelligence offer us the illusion of connectivity, when in fact what they do is reinforce isolation by using algorithms that ensure that we do not receive new ideas and perspectives, but rather more of the same content. We are served alternative facts and manipulated images, making it easy to disseminate disinformation and sow seeds of division amongst communities. Madam President, these are dangerous times. Our world is currently experiencing a rise in nationalism and economic instability. There's a general breakdown of multilateralism. Various acts of aggression have been committed against the sovereignty of others, and nations are attempting to circumvent the very safeguards that were put in place to prevent large-scale global conflict. These conditions are all too similar to the ones that led to the League of Nations' failure in fulfilling its mandate. The denial of visas to President Abbas and the Palestinian delegation sets a bad precedent and should be deeply worrying to all member nations of the United Nations. Ghana recognized the state of Palestine in 1988 and supported a two-state solution to the conflict since then. And I say, contrary to the claims of some, a two-state solution would not be a reward for Hamas. It would rather be a reprieve for the hundreds of thousands of innocent women and children and people who are facing collective punishment and forced starvation for no reason other than the fact that they are Palestinian. For nearly 2 years and for the fear of reprisals, we here in this General Assembly have been playing hide and seek with language to find the right words to help us avoid or excuse what we all know is taking place in Gaza. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop. The crimes in Gaza must stop. Madam President, I also want to draw particular attention to the conflict in Sudan, which this body has described as the world's largest humanitarian crisis. 12 million people have had to flee their homes. And when we speak of migration, we refer to the 12 million new Sudanese refugees, whom we as a global community should be willing to assist in much the same way that many member nations readily assisted new refugees coming out of Ukraine. Let's dispense with the euphemisms and dog whistles and speak frankly. It is not a mystery that when leaders of Western nations complain of their migration problems, they are often referring to immigrants from the global south. But many of those immigrants are climate refugees. And interestingly, the global north emits 75% more greenhouse gases than the global south. However, the effects of climate change are more severe in the global south because we lack the resources to address them effectively. And so when the desert encroaches on our villages and towns and they become unlivable, we are forced to flee. Wasan Shire, a Somali-born prophet, a Somali-British poet born in Kenya to Somalian refugee parents, was London's first youth poet laureate. She writes in her poem titled Home. And it says, you have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one bends their palms under trains beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled mean something more than just a journey. Madam President, we cannot normalize cruelty. We cannot normalize hatred. We cannot normalize xenophobia and racism. If we're going to tell a story, let's not tell its slant. Let's tell all the truth. When we speak of migrants, we speak of Mami Ewusi Mensah Frimpong, a judge on the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California. She's the first black female judge on any of California's 4 federal district courts. She was born here in America to immigrant parents from Ghana. We speak of Peter Bosman, a medical doctor in Ghana who moved to the town of Piran in Slovenia in the 1980s and later became the first black mayor of Piran, the first black mayor in Slovenia and in the whole of Eastern Europe. We speak of T. Michael, the iconic Ghanaian Norwegian artist and designer. And of course, we speak of the late Kofi Annan, former United Nations Secretary General. Former United Nations Secretary General and Nobel Peace Prize recipient, who was born in Ghana but spent his adulthood in various places in America and Europe. These are people who have brought great distinction to the countries that they decided to call home. Just as the migrants and the children of migrants before them did, I dare say these are not invaders. These are not criminals. Madam President, the slave trade must be recognized as the greatest crime against humanity. As the African champion on reparations, Ghana intends to introduce a motion in this August body to that effect. More than 12.5 million Africans were forcibly taken against their will and transported to create wealth for the powerful Western nations. We must demand reparations for the enslavement of our people and the colonization of our land that resulted in the theft of our natural resources, as well as the looting of artifacts and other items of cultural heritage that have yet to be returned in total. We recognize the value of our land and the value of our lives, as did our colonizers, as well as the governments that happily paid reparations to former slave owners as compensation for the loss of their property, in quotes, and that property for which they received compensation was paid referred to enslaved people who had been freed. Madam President, an increasingly insecure world is witnessing upward spending on defense budgets of bilateral partners and steep cuts in official development assistance. Since July 2024, it is estimated that there's been a 40% drop in humanitarian aid globally. In this era of global uncertainty, Africa must exercise sovereignty over its natural resources to raise the necessary funds to ensure the well-being of its citizens. The days of parceling out vast concession areas to foreign interests for exploitation must come to an end. We'll continue to welcome foreign investment, but we must negotiate better for a bigger share of the natural resources that belong to us. And we must insist on value addition to these resources. We're tired of the continued image of poverty-stricken, disease-ridden rural communities living at the periphery of huge foreign-controlled natural resource concession areas. We're tired of having people extract the most they can from us and in return offer us the very least by way of respect, consideration, and dignity. We're tired of not being represented in ways that reveal the richness and complexity of our history or acknowledge all that we have overcome to arrive here in this liminal space of untold possibilities. Allow me to echo the Indian-American writer Arundhati Roy, who wrote, "Another world is not only possible, she's on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her briefing." I want to add that for the sake of Africa, and quite selfishly for the sake of my 18-year-old daughter, I hope that this new world that is arriving is a place of safety and equality for women and girls. To succeed, we must empower everyone, including women and girls, to reach their full potential. In closing, Madam President, I'd like to congratulate you on your election to preside over this historic 80th General Assembly and on being the 5th woman to hold this distinction. I'd also like to congratulate Her Excellency Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman on being the first woman Vice President of Ghana. Now every Ghanaian girl knows the heights to which she can ascend. Words matter, but issues of representation matter even more, which is why Ghana looks forward to the appointment of a woman as Secretary General of this organization in the near future. Madam President, Your Excellencies, I thank you for your kind attention.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Ghana.
Established in the year 1995, the Jospin Group of Companies has become a major source of innovation and sustainability across Africa. The group is dedicated to driving development across diverse sectors and has 76 subsidiaries with the vision of being the most successful holding company and a mission of improving the lives of people. The subsidiaries are categorized into 8 dynamic clusters to provide focused and efficient operations. The Environment and Sanitation Primary Cluster, the cornerstone of our operations. This cluster is vital for effective waste management and sanitation services across Africa. Leading this charge is Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, the largest waste management company in West Africa. From public cleansing to waste collection and transportation, we prioritize maintaining clean, healthy public spaces and promoting sustainable living. Our waste collection services span residential and commercial sectors, employing cutting-edge technology and skilled personnel for efficient, eco-friendly operations. Emerging from this foundation is the Environment and Sanitation Processing Cluster. Key companies like Integrated Recycling and Compost Plant, IRECOP, Accra Compost and Recycling Plant, ACAP, Kumasi Compost and Recycling Plant, KCAP, engage in sorting waste into organic, plastic, and combustible materials. Sewerage Systems Ghana Limited treats and transforms wastewater into usable components. From these, we produce compost, recycled plastics, and alternative fuels, and enhancing resource efficiency. This cluster is also home to our unique medical waste facilities, which uses a microwave technology to process medical waste, safeguarding public health and safety. Others include Zoil Services, Dredge Masters, and Zoom Lion Waste Transfer Stations. Our waste-to-energy initiatives focus on harnessing advanced technologies to transform municipal solid waste, organic waste, and other biodegradable materials into renewable energy sources such as electricity and heat. By capturing methane from waste decomposition and reducing landfill dependency, we are significantly lowering greenhouse gas emissions while promoting energy self-sufficiency across Africa. The Technical and Logistics Cluster encompasses businesses involved in manufacturing, automobile services such as sales and servicing of heavy-duty and light-duty vehicles, and logistical operations. It also supports sectors such as ports and logistics services. It further undertakes industrial and logistical activities, ensuring seamless service delivery across multiple sectors. Commercial and Allied Services Cluster is skilled in customer-facing operations, which includes multimedia and hospitality services. By providing a comprehensive suite of services, it enhances operational efficiency and supports the group's diverse business activities. In here, We have companies such as AH Hotel and Conference, with unique setting for any local and international meetings. KNUST Africa Institute of Sanitation and Waste Management, which is a capacity building initiative in collaboration with KNUST, as well as Appointed Time Printing Limited, leading in cutting-edge technology in printing services, including corrugated packaging initiatives. A media group, Ignite Media, which is made up of Metro TV, Original TV, and Original FM. The Financial Services Cluster provides a comprehensive range of financial solutions supporting the group's diverse financial needs. Key companies include Omnibisic Bank, Millennium Insurance for General Insurance, Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, Kimpton Trust for Pensions Trust, Union Capital for Venture Capital, and other investments and various digital payment platforms. This cluster offers financial stability and growth opportunities, underpinning the group's broad array of business activities. Information and Communications Technology Cluster focuses on three main areas: device assembly, software development and data science, fintech and cybersecurity. The group aims to become the business efficiency solutions provider in Ghana. Agriculture and Agribusiness Cluster focuses on reinforcing agricultural productivity and food security. African Agribusiness Consult, AAC, the key player in this cluster, is predominantly involved in the cultivation of rice and other grains, alongside various other farming activities. By leveraging advanced agricultural techniques, this cluster collaborates with scientists from various institutions to enhance crop yields and quality, contributing significantly to food security in the region. The Property and Real Estate Cluster addresses the growing demand for housing and infrastructure, involved in developing innovative real estate projects that enhance living and working environments. This cluster ensures sustainable and resilient urban growth, meeting the needs of modern urbanization. International operations underscores our ambition to expand across Africa and beyond, with footprints in Asia and America, driving global partnerships and international business development. The Jospon Group of Companies is dedicated to driving sustainable development and innovation across Africa. As we continue to grow, we remain steadfast in our commitment to making a positive impact on society and the environment.
Jospon Group of Companies, fostering sustainable development through partnership.
To royalty. Welcome to Adosu Royal Hotel, located at New Pomo, Akosomo. Nestled in the heart of New Pomo, Akosomo, where the river flows and the breeze whispers peace, lies a sanctuary of comfort, elegance, and love. Adosu Royal Hotel. The moment you arrive, you are not just a guest, you are a family. At Adosu Royal Hotel, love is abundant and every detail is designed with you in mind. A beautiful room with a view of the Volta River, clean crisp bedding, and a local decor. Relax in our spacious air conditionings. Wake up to the serene views and the sounds of nature. And yes, sumptuous breakfast, always with a smile. Whether it's business, romance, or a weekend escape, Adosu Royal Hotel has the space, the taste, and the grace. Come home to royalty at Dosu Royal Hotel at Kosovo, where love meets luxury. Contact us on 0242 980453 or 020-813-7933. You can send us email at dosuroyalhotel2@gmail.com. Thank you.
1995年に設立されたジャスポングループは、アフリカ全体で革新と持続可能を支える大きな存在となっています。グループは幅広い分野で発展を牽引し、76の子会社を持っています。株主の皆様、社会全体、アフリカの人々の生活向上に貢献することを使命とし、効率的に事業を運営するため、子会社は8つの分野に分かれています。まず基盤となるのが環境衛生事業です。アフリカ全体において効果的な廃棄物管理や衛生サービスを提供する上で欠かせません。その先頭に立つのが西アフリカ最大の廃棄物管理会社ズームライオン社です。公共清掃から廃棄物の収集・輸送まで、清潔で健康的な公共空間を守り、持続可能な暮らしを大切にしています。家庭や事業所での廃棄物収集を最新技術と熟練した人材で行い、効率的で環境に優しい運営を進めています。さらにリサイクルや堆肥化を行う施設アイリコップ社、有機物、プラスチック、可燃物などを分別する A カップ社、K カップ社が再資源化を進めています。排水処理ではガーナ下水システム社が排水を利用可能な資源へと変えています。こうした取り組みから堆肥、リサイクルプラスチック、代替燃料などを生み出し、資源の有効利用を高めています。また医療廃棄物にはマイクロ波で安全に処理する独自の施設もあり、公衆衛生と安全を守っています。ゾイルサービス社やドレッジマスターズ社なども清掃や水路工事、廃棄物の中継施設で廃棄物からエネルギーを生み出す取り組みも行っています。有機廃棄物や生活ごみを電気や熱に変え、温室効果ガスの排出を大幅に削減し、埋め立て地への依存を軽減しています。この取り組みはアフリカ全体におけるエネルギー自給の促進にもつながっています。技術・物流事業では、製造業や自動車サービス、港湾物流などを支え、産業や物流の活動を幅広く担い、さまざまな分野で円滑なサービスを提供しています。商業・サービス事業では、ホテルや会議施設、メディア事業、印刷・パッケージなどを展開。AH ホテルは国内外の会議に最適な施設を提供しています。KNUST 大学と連携して人材育成を行うアフリカ衛生廃棄物管理研究所、また最先端の印刷・パッケージングを行うアポインテッドタイムズ社、メトロ TV、オリジナル TV、オリジナル FM を運営するイグナイトメディア社も含まれています。金融・サービス事業では、オムニビシック銀行、ミレニアム保険、 コスモポリタン健康保険、キンプトン年金、ユニオンキャピタル投資、デジタル決済など幅広い金融サービスを提供し、グループ全体の安定と成長を支えています。情報通信技術事業では、ソフトウェアの開発、データサイエンス、サイバーセキュリティなどに注力し、ガーナにおけるビジネスの効率化を目指しています。農業事業では、米や穀物の栽培をはじめ、先進的な農業技術を取り入れ、研究者と協力しながら収穫量や品質を高め、食料安全保障に貢献しています。不動産事業では、住宅やインフラの需要に応え、持続可能で強くしなやかな都市開発を進めています。人々の暮らしや働く環境を改善し、現代都市にふさわしい成長を支えています。国際事業では、アフリカを越えてアジアやアメリカにも事業を展開し、グローバルなパートナーシップを築いています。ジャスポングループは今後さらに成長を続けるため、日本の投資家の皆様、技術支援をいただける企業、そしてパートナーシップを築ける皆様と力強く連携していきたいと考えています。アフリカと日本をつなぐ架け橋として、新たな価値を共に創造してまいります。
Madrina minti asienda. Madrina mi unumo. Adriana obiato. Anase obi beto. Anase obi gusuto. Enenam kwan so bano. Atreshe ho dada.
Come in. Omuto special. The whole Japan online.
Kwan so bano. Obiato me kare.
Yes, sir. Many Abema. Good afternoon. Bibi aboko. Nyame ado bibi aboko. Ya, yene age se o wa hane na yebeze ye no udi nkomo kakra. Ya, mbajo aduane be na udi na ha sa abe.
Mutu ni.
Mutu. Okay. Bajo na ekosen. Ekoye pa. Eze Ghana di angasa.
Ghana di angasa.
Papa. Auntie, yenu ma eni hey bajo de na wo ka cho mo.
Oh, yenu a omuni kumasi anase.
Omo wa ha so omu mai.
Kumasi na ka to bi ambra si. No be di mutu special last Sundays of every month.
Okay.
Yeah, a good part. This is my second time I about.
Oh, second time. That's okay. Okay. Auntie, okay.
You got to be aso bi ambra no be di bi.
Okay. Na ni age pass wa ba. Nti se na o ka no. Ya medu ha no. Mo ma ye na anye tietia na ye mra na koso ankasa DJ boy Ghana nyom na omumfili ya papa ba ko nso wa ha o wie ni de ha no Papa Bajo, good afternoon.
Fine.
Bajo bi aboko. Bajo onzo enani de dika wo ba na.
Oh, David, we talk about what's that mutu special the second time.
Oh, okay. Now Papa Bajo o who is saying?
Oh, it's good. It's good, but
okay. Okay. Ghana for money now, Masumu Bacho, Momra, and Mutu special, a course Sabria, you will have from this time at Mama calls and Tibrabe Didi and Mutu Angasa and in cutting quine the dead upon Chenam and in the Ekunina and Papa.
I come up.
Okay. And yeah, you are higher term, Mumbra.
Yoni?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Today we are in Omotesando.
Omotesando.
And I'm going to take you around Omotesando.
Okay.
I'm going to introduce Omotesando to you.
All right.
If we say Omotesando, you know, Omotesando is a city or a town for fashion.
Okay.
Hairdressing.
Okay.
Food.
Good. Food, yes.
Food.
I like the
and
food
also some Japanese, typical Japanese
way of life?
Way of life and items.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to take you to a hashi shop.
Okay.
We're going to go eat shabu shabu.
Okay.
And then we're going to go visit all the fashionable shops that is in Omotesando.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You ready?
Very ready. Let's go. Let's go. Get some food.
What do you want?
Food.
What do you want to eat?
I wish I would get African food, but if not, I'll try any of those Japanese food.
Shabu shabu.
Yes. I'm just thinking maybe the name may be as the food.
Shabu shabu.
Yeah, so maybe some nice
Let's
food.
go.
Let's try that and see.
Madrina minti asieda. Madrina mi unumo. Adriana obiato. Anase obi beto. Anase obi gusuto. Enenam kwan so bano. Atreshe ho dada.
Come and eat. Omuto special. The whole Japan online.
Kwan so bano. Obiato me kare.
Yes, sir. Many of them. Good afternoon. Maybe Aboko. Yamiado, Bibi Aboko. Yeah, and I just say, oh, Hane, na Ebezi and Udin Komokaka. Yeah, Bajo, the Anabena Udin has a ring. Mutu. Okay. Bajona a coursing. Ekoye pa as a Ghana de Angasa. Papa. I see any hey, Pacho, Diana Okachom.
Oh, you know how many Kumasianas?
Omoa has or moon, my.
Once I come to Biambrasi, nobody be a most special last Sundays of every month.
Okay.
Yeah, a good part. This is my second time I have about.
Oh, second time, that's okay. Okay. 80. Okay.
You got to be a Biambra, nobody be.
Okay. Nenia de Passa Waba, Intizan or Cano. Yeah, me do Hano. Moma and 9 Tiana Yamrana. Koso Ankasa. DJ Boy and Ghana, Nyomna or Moonfili. Yeah, Papa Consoa. Oh, we ended the ano. Papa Bajo, good afternoon.
Fine.
Bajo Biaboko. Pajo also and any day Diga Obana.
Oh, David, we talk about what's that? Mutu special. The
second time. Oh, okay. Now, Pajo, when is saying?
Oh, it's good. It's a good boy.
Okay. Ghana for Munina Masumu Bacho Momra. A Mutu special. I course Sabria. You will have from this time at Mama calls and Tibrabe Didi and Mutu Angasa and in cutting quine the dead upon Chenam and in the Ekunina and Papa.
I come up.
Okay. And yeah, you will hire a tram, Momra.